Okay, welcome back. And in the last video and up to this point, we have created the MQTT server, which listens to the messages which are sent to the particular channel. We are listening to all the channel available using hash, and we have connected the clients to uh, test.mosquito.org. The web clients or the Angular will connect via WSS, which is a WebSocket's secured web socket, and server will connect using the MQTT protocol on the different ports. But since the servers are same, they can still receive the messages exchanged between them. So now moving forward, so what we have to do now is we have to prepare the UI that can send the messages to your application. And from here you can see this is the message and which is sent by and is it received. So all these things can happen, right? So let's go into the um, bot library, and we are already having a service here, so why not we use this itself to create the message model, which can contain export class message model. A message can be a string, sender id is a string again, and recipient id is a string again, and some topic id sorry, and sent on is a new date, actually a date, just a date, and which can be initialized later. So right now we will specify them as optional, or undefined values are accepted for these variables. And we will write one constructor where you can simply pass on the message, and the rest of the things can be managed by our own implementation. So we will say that the sender id is equals to we will pass on the sender id as well, as we don't know sender id, sorry, sender id as a string, then recipient, or simply just accept the plain object, and we will assign this to this one, o dot sender id, this dot message equals to o dot message, this dot recipient id is equals to o dot recipient id, this dot topic id is equals to o dot topic id, and last one is sent on will be new date dot get time, because this may not be let's make it as number. Okay, and the rest of the things like the image, we will keep them as a static. If you want later, you can of course implement this further and get this done. So now what we have to do is we can check, like if we are having a local storage, let's create the browser id first. Local storage dot get item browser id, and this is nothing but constant id that can be used as the sender id, and later you can have multiple browser ids as well. So while testing on the local, we can create multiple browser ids as well if required. Okay, so if no browser id is present, in that case the local storage should set item naming as a browser id, and this can be something like as a new date dot get time, and this will be the string, so that's why we will say like browser id underscore this. So just for longer run, right, what we will do is browser id will be kind of a channel id, not a channel id but the sender id and the recipient id. So recipient id is generally the support person right now, so mostly the recipient id is always the constant, and later on you can even exchange this to support 001, let's say. We will never send the recipient id, or let's make this as the constant variable here, or rather let's keep it this way. If we pass it on, it will it is better to have it dynamically specified. So browser id is nothing but a string here, and we would say this dot browser id is equal to this, and if not, then this dot browser id is equals to this id, and we will always set the browser id here. So I hope this is clear, and what it is saying, null or string. Okay, so it can be null as well. If it is not available, then we'll create a new one and then set to the local storage. So since this service is not being used right now, so what we will do is we will use sorry, we will use that service there, private we will say fbls as the service name. Let's not import from the public API but from the code, source code itself. And this connection string and everything can go to the service directly. That way we will have the things available and maybe cleaner, or even we can do like init function here, and once connected we can start these things from here. Okay, so it is clean now. So what we can do is whenever the message is sent, so let's write a function in this service to compose a message, or let's say build message, right? And what this guy will do is new message model, and it will pass on the message. Sender id, it already know what it could be, so we will only pass on from a message which is a string typed by user, and this will say that this browser id is a sender id. Recipient id we don't know. We will always have the topic id as a constant, so I would push this to this one itself, and topic id, and usually the topic id can be decided upon the browser id is created. So let me directly bring this to the method itself, and it will be much cleaner in the component, as the services are doing the heavy lifting here. So I have just moved the implementation from there to here, and we can say that this dot topic id, right? So our topic id is usually the channel id which can be created later, but for now let's create some random id as per the browser name. or the browser ID, right? So for now what I will do here is when we init this dot init, we can create the topic ID is equals to plus this dot browser ID, this dot topic ID is equals to this, right? So it will create the message or the channel ID for this one. And as you can see that the free bot browser ID and some random number which is sent here. So this topic ID can be used as the discussion point with this customer, right? So now as the connection is even ready and the message then the topic ID is topic ID colon this dot topic ID. Recipient ID we will not going to send because these three things are required, other two are auto populated. So what we will say here is just like flbs dot build a message, and it will ask you the string that you want to send, and instead of writing it there directly, so I will now plug our input from here. So in Angular you can use ng model, which is like msg text and this send button will, upon clicking on this button you will have send message. Okay, so these two things need to be implemented, send message, and here we will have message text is equals to empty string, and whenever customer or user clicks on that button we will say that this dot message text, and this guy should return constant m is equals to this, and the publish function that we have written here, which is sending a temporary message right now, will not do anything, but instead we will say like send message, and it will ask you the message object, which is msg message model type, which is of message model type. Okay, so it will have the msg object inside here, and we will have the method, and let's call this method this dot fbls dot send message, and it will ask you the message model. So it is saying like the build message is not returning anything yet, so let's return from here, and let's print before we send. So console.log sending message to this dot topic ID and msg object, right? So it should start showing us what it is sending. So to do that we have to do like once we send this, then this message is sent here, as you can see this one, and as the recipient ID is still missing from the list, right, because it is not available. So to do that maybe the message model which is composing this one o.recipient ID or support one. So if I remove this for now, let's see what it will do. Sender ID, recipient ID, and let's see in the DB. Okay, we have not added that, so we have to add it into the model here. Recipient it will be of type string, only. MSG created on topic ID, and one more is sender ID. So sender ID can be vice versa, but the channel ID will be same mostly for whenever the communication is created. Let's see when we scale this to multiple clients. If I say in this one, now it will have the topic, recipient, sender ID, created on, and other information, right? And one more thing missing is sent on. Okay, so I think this is in the better shape now. So let's see the further steps in the next video.